The paradox of resistance. The more you struggle, the worse it gets. What if I told you that the very thing you're doing to solve your problems, your struggle, your effort, your inner fight, is the exact thing making everything worse? That the more you resist, the more stuck you become. That the harder you push, the further life seems to push back. It sounds counterintuitive, even unfair, but it's one of the deepest truths hidden in plain sight. And if we can learn to see it, not just intellectually but experientially, it will change the way we live. Because this isn't about giving up, it's about waking up. This is the paradox of resistance. We've all been taught that effort equals success, that if something's not working, we just need to try harder, push more, grind longer. But let's look closely. How many times has that actually brought you peace? How often has overthinking solved your anxiety? How often has fighting your sadness made it go away? How often has resisting a reality you didn't like made it any different? We keep applying force, hoping it will give us control. But more often than not, it leaves us exhausted, anxious, and no closer to the life we want. Resistance is seductive. It makes us feel like we're doing something. It makes us feel powerful. But the truth is, most resistance is fear wearing a mask. It's our refusal to accept what is, because we're afraid of what it might mean. We resist pain because we think it will consume us. We resist uncertainty because we're addicted to control. We resist failure because we think it defines us. But what if the resistance is the pain? What if the suffering isn't in the experience, but in our refusal to feel it? This is where Taoism offers something revolutionary. The Tao Te Ching, one of the most profound philosophical texts ever written, teaches us that the way forward is not through force, but through flow. Water becomes the metaphor. It yields not because it's weak, but because it's wise. It doesn't resist the shape of the terrain, it adapts, embraces, and in doing so, it carves canyons. The soft overcomes the hard, Lao Tzu writes. The gentle overcomes the rigid. And we nod because it sounds beautiful, but do we live that way? Or are we still trying to force life to obey our will?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Think about the last time something didn't go your way. Maybe it was a relationship falling apart, a job opportunity slipping through your fingers, a plan that unraveled. What was your first instinct? Most of us tighten, we brace, we fight. We replay the situation in our minds 1,000 times, trying to rewrite it, trying to undo it. But the more we resist, the more entangled we become. We're like someone caught in quicksand. The harder we struggle, the deeper we sink. So, what's the alternative? Surrender? That word scares people. We think surrender means losing. But in Taoist philosophy, surrender is not defeat, it's alignment. It's the realization that we are not separate from life, we are part of it. And when we stop fighting the current, we begin to flow with it. That doesn't mean we stop acting. It means we stop acting against reality. We respond instead of reacting. We listen instead of controlling. And from that stillness, we begin to move with a kind of elegance that effort alone can never produce. Ask yourself this: what are you resisting right now? Is it an emotion you don't want to feel? A truth you don't want to accept? A part of yourself you're hoping to outrun? What would happen if, just for a moment, you stopped fighting it? Not gave up, but stopped pushing, just sat with it, observed it, let it be. would the world fall apart? Or would you discover something deeper, something quieter and wiser beneath all the noise? Non-resistance is not passivity. It's precision. It's choosing your battles with wisdom. It's knowing when to act and when to allow, when to move and when to rest. And paradoxically, it's from this place of non-grasping that true power arises. Because it's not power over life, it's power with life. It's the strength of someone who doesn't need certainty to be at peace, the kind of person who can walk through chaos and remain centered, not because they're numb, but because they're rooted. You see, we've built our lives on the assumption that struggle is noble, that tension is progress, that discomfort is to be conquered. But maybe we've misunderstood. Maybe discomfort is a teacher. Maybe tension is a signal. Maybe struggle is a doorway, not something to avoid, but something to pass through. And maybe resistance, which we've treated like armor, is actually a cage. There's a moment in every journey where we realize that the obstacle isn't out there, it's in here. In the way we cling, the way we grasp, the way we demand that life conform to our expectations. And that moment, if we're brave enough to see it, can become the beginning of freedom. Because once we stop resisting, something extraordinary happens. Clarity returns, energy returns, life begins to move again, not because we controlled it, but because we let it move through us. Let go to go forward. How surrender unlocks true power. At some point, life confronts us with a truth we don't want to hear, that all the control we try to hold on to is an illusion. We plan, we predict, we build walls of certainty around ourselves thinking they'll protect us. But then something unexpected happens, a betrayal, a diagnosis, a dream that slips through our fingers, and suddenly our illusion collapses. And in that moment, we face a choice. We can keep clinging, keep tightening our grip on a reality that no longer exists, or we can let go. Letting go feels like defeat to the ego. It whispers, if you don't hold on, you'll fall apart. But the paradox is this: the more you let go, the more whole you become. Because surrender isn't about giving up your strength. It's about giving up your false sense of control so that a deeper strength can emerge. A strength that doesn't rely on certainty, a strength that doesn't need to manipulate outcomes to feel safe. Real power doesn't come from forcing things to happen. It comes from aligning yourself with the flow of what is and moving with it rather than against it. The Taoists called this Wu Wei, effortless action. It doesn't mean doing nothing, it means doing only what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, in the way that life naturally presents. It's like a surfer riding a wave. The wave has its own momentum. The surfer's job is not to fight the wave, but to feel it, to tune in, to respond. In the same way, when we stop trying to control every variable of our lives, we begin to feel life again. We begin to respond with grace instead of reacting out of fear. Think about a time when you were fixated on making something happen. You probably lost sleep. You ran endless mental simulations. You tried to force conversations, outcomes, decisions. And what did it give you? Maybe temporary control, but underneath it, anxiety, and often the very thing you were chasing slipped further away. Why? Because when we operate from fear, we push life. We operate from scarcity, from neediness, from resistance. But when we let go, not with apathy, but with trust, we create space for something new to emerge. Possibility begins where resistance ends. Here's a question to sit with. What are you still trying to control that you were never meant to? Is it how someone sees you? Whether the future unfolds the way you imagined? Whether the pain you carry finally disappears? The truth is, the more tightly you hold on to something, the more it owns you. And the more you let go, not abandon, but release, the more you reclaim your energy, your clarity, your peace. Letting go isn't passive, it's active surrender. It's the decision to no longer fight what you cannot change and to instead turn your energy toward what you can, your attention, your presence, your response. When you stop trying to bend life to your will, you begin to discover life's will for you. And that's where real power lives, not in the ability to dominate life, but in the ability to dance with it. There's a strange beauty in surrender, a quiet dignity. It allows you to walk away from things that no longer serve you without bitterness. It allows you to face change with grace, not panic. It allows you to see endings not as failures, but as transitions. Doorways to something unknown, yes, but also possibly better. And in that space of not knowing, in that sacred pause between what was and what's next, something ancient and wise awakens in you. The part of you that doesn't need guarantees, the part of you that knows how to trust the unfolding. So the next time you find yourself struggling, ask, am I moving with life or against it? Am I gripping something that's already trying to leave? You'll know the answer by how you feel. Resistance feels like tension, like constriction, like fear. Surrender feels like release, like openness, like breath. One drains you, the other restores you. And here's what no one tells you. The moment you truly let go, you don't fall, you rise. You rise into a version of yourself that is freer, wiser, more attuned. Because you're no longer trying to control the ocean, you're learning to sail. The invisible war, how internal resistance creates external chaos. There's a hidden battle most of us are fighting every single day, and we don't even realize it. It's not the struggle with other people, with deadlines, with money, or even with time. Those are just surface echoes. The real war is internal. It's the resistance within us, the part of us that refuses to accept what is. And the more we fight ourselves, the more life seems to fight us back. What we experience as external chaos is often just a mirror of our inner conflict, projected outward and magnified. It starts subtly, a discomfort we can't quite name, a tension in the chest, a restlessness in the mind. We feel like we're not doing enough or that we're too much. We feel like we should be somewhere else by now or that we've missed something essential. And instead of pausing to listen, to investigate, we push harder. We try to outrun the feeling. We distract ourselves, blame others, or chase perfection. But what we're really doing is resisting ourselves. The parts we don't want to feel, the truths we're afraid to face, the emotions we never learned how to hold. That resistance creates friction, and friction becomes suffering. The more we reject parts of ourselves, our fear, our sadness, our limitations, the more we fragment. We split into roles and masks, trying to present only the acceptable, polished versions of who we are. But deep down, the part of us we're rejecting doesn't go away, it just gets louder. It shows up as anxiety, as anger, as fatigue, as perfectionism, as self-sabotage. We think our life is falling apart, but really it's just the natural consequence of fighting ourselves for too long. Here's the profound truth. When we're at war within, the world reflects that war back to us. Our relationships become strained, our work becomes draining, our goals become obsessions. It's like trying to sail a boat while punching holes in the hull. No matter how hard we row, we're sinking, and yet we rarely stop to ask the question that matters most. What part of me am I refusing to meet? This is where the Taoist wisdom again becomes essential. The Tao doesn't demand that we fix ourselves, it invites us to include ourselves, all of it, the light and the shadow, the clarity and the confusion, the ambition and the fear. It teaches that wholeness is not about purity, it's about integration. When we stop resisting our inner world, even the messy parts, something shifts. The chaos outside begins to settle, not because life got easier, but because we stopped adding to the noise. Think about it. How often has your resistance to an emotion made it worse? You feel anxious and then you judge yourself for feeling anxious. Now, you're anxious about being anxious. You're sad and then you tell yourself to snap out of it, which only deepens the sadness with shame. What if instead you said, "This is here, let me sit with it, let me understand it"? That simple act of internal permission can dissolve a lifetime of tension, because what we resist persists, but what we witness begins to transform. It's not easy. Facing yourself is the hardest thing you'll ever do, but it's also the most liberating, because once you stop fighting your inner world, you gain the clarity to respond to the outer world with wisdom. You stop reacting from old wounds. You stop projecting your pain onto others. You become less volatile, more grounded. You stop being a storm and you become the stillness at the center of one. So, ask yourself with brutal honesty, what am I really resisting? What am I afraid will happen if I stop pretending, stop performing, stop pushing? There's always a fear under the resistance, but most of the time, the fear isn't real. It's a memory, a story, a protective mechanism we built long ago that no longer serves us. And when we see it for what it is, we can finally lay down our arms. This is the invisible war, and the only way to win is to stop fighting, not in surrender to defeat, but in surrender to truth. The truth of who you are, the truth of what you feel, the truth of what you've carried. And in that surrender, you discover a kind of peace that no external victory could ever give you, the peace of being whole. Not perfect, not finished, but whole. Resistance is the enemy of becoming, why your future self needs you to let go now. There's a version of you waiting to emerge, calmer, wiser, more grounded, deeply alive. But you can't reach that version by clinging to who you've been. You can't step into the next chapter of your life while dragging the weight of old identities, unresolved fears, and unexamined beliefs. And yet, this is exactly what resistance does. It keeps us tethered to the familiar, even when the familiar is painful. It convinces us that safety lies in staying the same, when in truth, safety lies in motion, in change, in evolution, in allowing ourselves to become. The future you want doesn't just require a plan, it requires space. Space for growth, space for uncertainty, space for becoming something you've never been before. But resistance fills that space with noise. It says, stay where you are, don't risk, don't stretch, don't let go. And so we stay stuck, half in, half out, longing for transformation but unwilling to pay the price of release. We don't realize that what we're holding on to is often the very thing holding us back. Be honest with yourself. What are you still carrying that your future self no longer needs? Maybe it's a belief that you're not good enough. Maybe it's the story that you have to be perfect to be loved. Maybe it's the identity you built around being the strong one, the fixer, the overachiever. These served you once. They protected you, but now they're walls. And you're outgrowing them. The problem is most people don't grow because they wait until they feel ready to release what no longer fits. But readiness doesn't come first. Release does. You let go, and then you grow into the space. Taoism teaches us that everything in nature grows by surrendering to its own rhythm. Trees don't resist shedding their leaves in autumn. Rivers don't resist the pull of gravity. Caterpillars don't resist the cocoon, even though it means the death of what they were. Nature trusts the process of becoming, but we humans, we resist. We try to skip the winter, avoid the cocoon, hold on to the leaves. But in doing so, we delay our own becoming. We choose comfort over transformation, and ironically, we suffer more. Letting go isn't just about the past. It's about the future, because the energy you spend resisting is the energy you could be using to create. Every moment you cling to who you were is a moment stolen from who you could be. And the most dangerous thing about resistance is that it disguises itself as reason. It tells you, you're not ready, you need more time, it's too risky. But those aren't truths, they're fears in costume. And fear will always keep you small if you let it. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need to know exactly who you're becoming. You just need to stop pretending you don't hear the call. That quiet voice inside you, the one whispering that you're meant for something deeper, truer, freer, that voice doesn't lie. It's not asking you to abandon your life. It's asking you to come alive within it, to stop resisting the pull toward what is real, to trust that whatever you lose in the process of letting go, you never really needed to begin with. So ask yourself one final question. What would my life look like if I stopped resisting it? If I stopped resisting my emotions, my path, my story, my becoming? What if I trusted that the current of life, however messy and unpredictable, was actually moving me exactly where I need to go? What if the struggle was never with life itself, but with my refusal to let it carry me? This is the paradox. The more you struggle, the worse it gets. But the moment you stop resisting, life begins to open. Not because it changed, but because you did. You stepped out of your own way. You stopped fighting the river and learned to float. And in that floating, you discovered a truth deeper than struggle, deeper than fear, that you were never lost. You were just resisting the path all along. Let go. Become. Your future self is already waiting.